A surprise new iPhone is coming. Apple is about to massively change the Apple Watch. Apple is also about to massively change the iPad. What's up? I'm Royce, and this is Apple Next, where we talk about all the latest and hottest Apple news of the week. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into it. First up, it looks like Apple's getting serious again about the Apple Watch and their new software update. So last video, I talked about the Apple Watch and the upcoming watchOS 10, and that Apple is looking to upgrade the Apple Watch's home screen to a more iPhone-like style, with their apps closer together like you would see on an iPhone home screen. Now, some more reports are saying that they're going to take a step further and fully include widget support on the Apple Watch in watchOS 10. And the goal with this is to completely simplify how you use your Apple Watch and how you get information on your Apple Watch. So I think Apple has enough data at this point on the Apple Watch to know that it doesn't need to work exactly like an iPhone or an iPad does, and that people really just want to be able to just glance real quick at their watch and get the information that they need. Because what I think made the Apple Watch the most successful out of all the smartwatches that have come before it is that it isn't trying to compete with traditional watches. It doesn't have the traditional round face that everyone's used to, right? It's like, this is a smartwatch that is going to have apps on it and have information. We don't need to play in that field, because if we do, we're going to lose, right? And I feel like this is Apple taking that step even further, now knowing that we just want to be able to quickly glance at our watch. We don't need to be on it the way we're on it on our phones. Let me just look at it, see the information that I need, and get out. And a sample of how this already works on the Apple Watch is if you've ever used the Siri watch face, where it just shows you kind of like a card view of information that's important to you. And as you scroll, you get more information that way. So it seems that this new widget view will act pretty similarly to that. Now, I really hope these reports are true, but we're gonna have to wait and see what they do at WWDC. And the Apple Watch news doesn't stop there, because there are reports also saying that with watchOS 10, the Apple Watch will finally be able to sync with multiple Apple devices. So not just your iPhone, but you'll soon be able to sync with your Mac or your iPad. Because as much as Apple wants to tie the Apple Watch and the phone together, you need one to make the other work. But now for someone out there who has an Android but has a Mac as their main computer, can now feel like, oh, you know what? Let me finally give the Apple Watch a try. And obviously that's huge for Apple, because that means more sales. It seems like it's going to work the same way AirPods do, right? Where you sync with one device and your AirPods are pretty much syncing up with your Apple ID. So that way you don't have to sync your AirPods every time to each device that you want to use them with. You sync it with one, connects to your Apple ID, and you're good to go on all your devices. And that's always been such a cool feature that Apple has implemented. So it seems that the Apple Watch may use a similar feature. So you sync with your phone. Now, no matter what devices you have, even if you have multiple iPhones, your Apple Watch will just sync across all your devices and you're good to go. Next up, we got to talk about this huge change that's coming to the iPhone 15. So the first thing, what we know is coming to all the iPhone 15 models, is they're all finally getting the dynamic island that right now is only reserved for the iPhone 14 Pro models. So the iPhone brand is finally going to get unified on that front and be able to take advantage of all the features that it provides. And on top of that, like I had stated, all iPhone 15 models are finally switching over to USB-C. Now, where things start to split, first with the regular iPhone 15 models, we know they're going to get that nice frosted glass back to make it look all nice and pristine. But now with the iPhone 15 Pro and the Ultra model, they're going to get this new titanium frame that's going to make them more durable. But the look overall is going to look pretty similar to how the 14 and the 14 Pros look. Now, unfortunately, that's all we know the iPhone 15s are going to get, the regular ones. Obviously, they'll get a spec bump in, the new internal hardware that they're going to get. The cameras are going to get a little bit better. Like, those are always usually the standard, right? If you already have a 14, you might not make as much sense to upgrade to the 15 unless you have an iPhone 13 or lower. Then I feel like this upgrade is going to be worth it. Now with the iPhone 15 Pro and Ultras, they're getting USB-C, but the upgraded Thunderbolt 3 standard from Apple, which will be nice. Now we don't know the full capacity of how they're going to take advantage of that, but what we do know now is they're going to be working on some type of transfer interface that will help you transfer your videos, photos, and files a lot easier and a lot faster than you had been before. And I assume this is going to work pretty similar to how the iPads work right now, where you could just plug in a hard drive like you would on a laptop or a desktop, and you could just transfer right then and there. So being able to do that exact same thing on an iPhone, I think would be really awesome and definitely needed, especially if you're a creator of any kind. So now going back to the naming conventions, right, and calling this bigger, most expensive phone a whole new name, iPhone 15 Ultra. There's going to be an interesting divide between that and the iPhone 15 Pro. In the past couple years, Apple's been very consistent having the smaller Pro and the bigger Pro models do exactly the same thing, have the exact same hardware and cameras, which has been great. But that hasn't always been the case. There used to be a time when Apple first started implementing the bigger screen sizes, they always saved the best features, the best camera lenses, things like that for the bigger models. So it looks like they're kind of taking a page out of their own book and coming back to that strategy. And the first feature that we know that's going to set the Ultra from the Pro apart is the introduction of this periscope lens. It'll allow you to zoom in while drastically reducing image blur that comes with zooming in on a phone camera and allow you to take a lot clearer pictures. So right now the iPhone 15 Pro is supposed to be getting a bigger sensor, which will let you take better photos at night, letting more light in. And it seems the iPhone 15 Ultra might be getting a even better sensor than that. You can kind of see what they're doing here and how they're going to be painting the Ultra as like the ultimate photo video device that you have to buy. And right now, a feature that is reportedly shared between the Pro and the Ultra models is a new video recording feature that will allow you to send a clean video feed out to an external monitor where you don't no longer have to like use some wonky setup. You don't have to AirPlay your phone to a different screen and having the screen and like your camera settings all in one. It'll be kind of like a separate experience where the controls will stay on your phone, but you'll be able to just see your video or photo images on the external monitor. And if you're just a regular person using your phone, you're probably like, okay, whatever. But if you're a content creator, you can already see the huge benefits to this. But now really thinking about this, I hope they don't do this, but I can easily see Apple being like, you know what? Let's actually save that feature for just the Ultra. Because the more features that they share, it doesn't give people as much of a reason to upgrade to that new Ultra brand name. So if you package the Ultra as like, this has the best lens, it has the best sensor, and it has this new feature specifically for content creators who want to shoot video in a very like simplified way, the Ultra is the phone. So again, just knowing how Apple has operated in the past, it really seems like this may be the direction they're going. And the more features they can hold off and just put into this Ultra device, I think it'll benefit them because it'll really make people look at that model and have blinders to all the other ones and being like, that's the one I need. Now, where Apple could fumble the bag a little bit is how they plan to price the Ultra model. Right now, the iPhone 14 Pro starts at $999. The Pro Max starts at $1099. And they could just do the exact same thing and then it'll be a win. But if they're really trying to push this Ultra brand name to like that next level, I can easily see them as the base model starting at like $1299. Because if we look at what Apple's doing with the Apple Watch Ultra, that's priced at $799 and the Apple Watch 8 is priced at $399. And yeah, and you see the price gap and it makes people psychologically be like, okay, if there's that big of a price difference, what does this Apple Watch have that the regular Apple Watch doesn't? And it does have a lot of cool features dedicated to it. Even though it's a lot easier just to say the iPhone 15 Ultra versus the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I don't think they're just doing it for simplification's sake. I really do think they have something planned up their sleeve. And as Apple usually does with all their iPhone releases, all the iPhone 15 models can expect to be released sometime this fall. They usually announce them sometime in September, and then pre-orders open, people go crazy, and then they come out and start shipping to people usually like a week or two after that. And next up, it looks like this one iPhone feature is going to find its way onto your Mac and iPad. So according to some rumors, it looks like Apple is planning to bring the dynamic island that you see on the iPhone 14 Pros and maybe coming to the iPhone 15 models onto your Mac and iPad. It looks like Apple also wants to take advantage of all the features that come with the dynamic island and put that into the software on your Macs and iPad. And they're saying one example, like on the Mac, the dynamic island can take place in some part of the menu bar at the top. So it could change how you navigate Mac OS. And even on the iPad, that can work more how it does on the iPhone, showing certain notifications, or if you're playing, in Apple Music, you kind of see whatever song's playing at the top there. So for me, in order for this to make sense, it really would have to bring something very unique and interesting. If we're talking about like the Mac, right? The iPad, I get it, because yeah, I do feel like it's going to work in a very similar way to the iPhone. But if we're bringing this to Mac OS, it's got to offer some really interesting and unique features that make maybe navigating the system a lot quicker. But as far as replacing the menu bar and doing things like that, I would really have to see a little bit more on how that would even be. The menu bar, the drop-down windows, that's just solidified into our systems, our veins on how a computer should work. So to completely change that, I feel like even if it's cool, it's going to make a lot of people angry. And what's interesting is even the inclusion of the dynamic island, you would think instantly, okay, Face ID is coming to the Mac. Awesome, that's great. But the reports are saying that it's not even necessarily tied to that. It would be more of a visual, like software-based move than anything. And next up, we got some more information about iOS 17 leading up to WWDC. And it looks like Apple wants to do some native app updates, make things look a little bit cleaner. And the first one being the Apple Wallet, where this sample render shows what they may be planning. The interface is a lot more simplified. You now have tabs that separate your cards from all your different passes. You got tabs at the bottom that kind of separate all the different categories that you have in the wallet, instead of everything just being jumbled up into one. And I think this is a really welcome change if this is what Apple's planning to do, because it does get very cluttered. The more passes you throw in there, the more cards you throw in there, it does get a mess. And the fact that like Apple has their Apple Card and you now can have your Apple savings account, when using your card, that money gets transferred into your savings account. A lot more people are going to be using the Apple Wallet than they were before. So the more they can kind of clean things up and make it a better experience for everyone, I think that helps them in the end. And next is how they're going to simplify the wallpaper experience by having this grid view that will be a lot easier to select the wallpapers that you want and even switch between which wallpaper you want at a given time. And it seems like it's going to work very similar to how the Apple Watch works, where you press and hold to change your watch face. Now you may be able to do something similar where you tap and hold on your iPhone screen and you just quickly swipe to change the wallpaper that you want. And I would be really excited to use this feature, especially with the rumored improvements coming to the lock screen, being able to change your fonts and things like that, being able to share your lock screen creations with others. I think this should just be really nice and kind of like a more unified way of going about doing things and customizing your iPhone and making it your own. And it looks like the health app is finally going to be coming to the iPad and the Apple Watch as well. So we'll be able to have all our health information with all our different Apple devices that we may have. So yeah, I'm really interested with these different redesigns, and I'll be excited to see what else Apple has up their sleeves, because I'm pretty sure they're not just going to stop here. And next, it looks like iMessage is finally coming to the PC. Well, kind of. Actually, not really. All right, so this is what's happening. Microsoft just released this app called Link to Windows that you can download on the App Store today. And pretty much what it does is it allows your phone to sync to your PC over Bluetooth. And having that same app downloaded on your computer, you can finally text, answer calls, and see your notifications from your Windows PC. Now, the reason why I say it kind of doesn't do what we actually want it to do is you won't get a full list of your whole conversation when you first open up this app. You will only get whatever new text or anything that you send or is being sent to you, and then you'll just see that thread as it builds. But as soon as you disconnect your phone from your PC, that conversation goes away. So it's not a full synced iMessage system. It's just kind of like a way to kind of lessen the blow a little bit, kind of give, some relief to people who have iPhones but use PCs as their main working machine. And also the other caveat is this is only limited to individual conversations. This will not work with group chats at all. So unfortunately, in that instance, you're still going to have to look at your phone to respond to those messages. But what is nice is you can answer calls from your PC. So if you have either a built-in mic on your laptop, or if you're on a desktop and you have an external mic, you'll be able to use that and be able to talk to people right there. And I think the best part, and really the only useful part of this app and how I plan to use it, is you will get notifications on your PC and you will be able to see a full thread of them. So while you're working, instead of having to glance at your phone or pick up your phone, you can kind of just look over on the Windows Link app and see a list of whatever your notifications are. I really feel like that's the best and most unified experience you're going to get at this point, because I personally wouldn't use it for text messages because I can already see that's going to get confusing. You're not going to remember like what was said before. You're only going to see that. And then once I unsync my phone, I walk away, I come back, everything's going to be gone. So you're still going to have to look at your phone anyway again. And lastly, we've got to talk about this crazy upgrade that's coming to the iPad Pro. Okay, so I'm going to try not to get too excited because these are still just kind of speculations, even though people are pretty confident this is what's going to happen. I got to temper my expectations because I've been let down so many times when it comes to this stuff. But if these reports are true, it looks like we're not only going to be getting a bigger screen iPad, that 14-inch iPad I had mentioned in our last video, but this iPad could be a lot more powerful and kind of jade the line between an iPad and a Mac laptop. I also mentioned in my last video, this iPad might be getting an M3 chip, which means we probably won't see it this year, maybe towards the end in fall, winter, or going into 2024. But they're saying it might even go past that and have an M3 Pro chip. So that means Apple's planning to pack this new iPad with a lot of power. Because we already know with this iPad model, they plan to allow it to output up to 2 high-resolution displays, whether that's through daisy chaining or including another USB-C port on here. So there's 2, maybe more. I don't think they'll do that. That's crazy. That's me wanting too much. It'll probably be 1 and some weird daisy chaining situation, but that in and of itself is huge. So this is just another welcome piece of information, but it doesn't even stop there. It looks like it's pretty confident that 2024 is the year Apple finally brings Final Cut Pro to the iPad, because of now it's going to have the chips, right? It's going to have the power. There's no more excuses. And it's pretty much going to be a one-to-one experience as the macOS version. They'll probably do some adjustments just so it's a little bit easier with the touch interface, but it's pretty much like, hey, yo, this is going to happen. And they're saying even like Logic Pro, maybe not 2024, but Logic Pro could be coming 2025. So again, let me calm down, okay? Because if you're not a content creator, if you don't make videos and stuff, you're like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But if you are, you have probably been in the exact same boat and waiting, and then have been disappointed every single new iPad release, every single WWDC. We see the new software. We're like, this is the year. They're going to announce it. And then they're like, nope, sorry. And then we got to go on Twitter and we're like, when is this happening? They didn't announce it. The iPads have M1 chips now. What's the point? What are they waiting for? So it looks like we're finally getting a little bit closer to having not only just the iPad of our dreams, but then the iPad and having the software of our dreams on that iPad. Now, if this will just be reserved for this 14-inch iPad Pro, I doubt it from a software standpoint, because when DaVinci Resolve came, like that was a big deal. Everyone thought it was just going to be limited to like the M2, the M1 chips, but it also works on some iPads even after that, but it just doesn't work as efficiently as the M1 and the M2 iPad models. So it'll probably be something similar with Final Cut, unless Apple pulls Apple and they're like, nope, you need this model to get this software because you need this, you need to output. We know you're going to need to output to 20 different monitors at the same time. So this is what you got to pay to get this. But either way, we're all going to pay it. I know I'm going to pay it because I want. Now we still have some time to wait, but I'm just so glad that we're at least hearing hints of this stuff, you know, kind of in the distance, because before, like, there was nothing. Like, we just were hoping and praying that Apple was maybe thinking about doing this. But now we got some pretty good, solid information on the inside that they're like, yo, these steps are happening. It's still going to take some time, but Apple's going to get there. And again, I'm taking all of this with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'm excited. And if I'm excited, I know someone else out there has to be excited as well. And that's why I wanted to pass this information on. But yeah, that's all the Apple news I got for the day. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested to hear your guys' perspective. And yeah, until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.